You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 232. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I'm joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, indeed. The host of Large Popcorn and video essayist. Fuck, I'm so used to your old thing. Video producer at DualShockers, Christian Macias at _ISO Christian.
I can't play taps, but I'll play this. Folks, Malevolent Creek has fallen. We must bring our soldiers home.
Incredible. Incredible. And the heroic Helldiver and fellow Spartan Gage Dempster at Gilbo Biggins.
I'm reporting for duty. Democracy, it'll only die if we let it.
And we will not let it happen. Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week is, how do we fix AAA gaming? All these layoffs are happening. We're going to talk about those in our topic of the show. A lot of bad shit happening. But first, the show always starts with the quick bites, so let's go ahead and jump right in. But wait a minute, what's this? Before we get to the quick bites, we have an important announcement from Podcast PXN. We have a very serious item to talk about, guys. And unfortunately, we're reporting to our shareholders and we're not making enough money, so we have to cut 25% of our staff. Gage, I'm sorry, you were the last one to join, so it's been real, you know? It's been real.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You know what?
Just kidding. Fuck the shareholder. Oh, see you, Gage.
Yeah. I did it for you. I did it for him.
Incredible. Incredible. For audio listeners, Gage was kicked from the Discord call, and now he's back. Yeah.
Who gave him his employee card? How did he get back in here? How we revoked that?
Somebody didn't do their job. Shit. All right. Anyways, sorry. Moving into the quick bites. Pal World has hit 25 million players, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a month since Pal World has been released, and Steam has 15 million players, Xbox at 10 million players. So Helldivers killing it, Pal World doing well.
I'm one of those, but only because of work. But I think I'm finally done after this week.
Says the man.
Still playing it, eh?
Reluctantly, yes.
Oh my god.
The more I play of it, the more I think, yeah, this isn't a game.
Right,
You know?
Right.
Remember that first couple weeks where you guys were fucking messaging like nonstop? Power World, let's go, let's get our server going.
Incubation. Did you see the incubation time?
Yeah.
It was fun at first. It was goofy.
Incredible. What's not incredible is this next news. Marcus Lehto, of course, the father of Master Chief, co-creator of Halo, has left Ridgeline Games and EA. And here's from Marcus directly. Yes, I left EA on my own accord. This was a very tough, if I could speak, a very tough decision for me to make. I want to thank the Battlefield community for allowing me to listen to you while I was able. Your feedback will help make Battlefield stronger. I wish the teams at EA all the best going forward. More to come on this.
Yeah, top of the show. Yeah.
Moving on from there, good news coming from Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is now able to handle all players. The developers shared an update. They've been working on the server issues, expanding servers, giving more servers, and they have now officially declared the weekend a success, with the game servers handling all players without a problem this past weekend. Very good news for Helldivers. And
I mean, hold on. We say
Sorry.
this, and yet you log into the game, and all the boots are on the terminate ground. Do you know what I mean? What are all these players worth if none of them are boots on the ground on the automaton side?
Right.
Everyone's scared of the automatons.
It is so much harder.
I would be careful because I don't know what the ramifications are of criticizing fellow Helldivers, like when it comes to democracy and stuff like that.
No.
Like
Did you see
Christian, like
there's
I
a-
hear you, I hear what you're saying, but also like you're live, so maybe be careful, right?
Did you see there's a bounty on one Helldiver?
No.
So there's this dude who, like, there was an article that came out about there's a lot of people that don't understand that resources that you earn in a dive is for everyone. Like, everyone keeps the resources.
Right.
So a bunch of people have been like team killing and then taking the resources before boarding. And it's like, well, now we just lost XP because not all of us extracted. There was one dude who was streaming who kept team killing and stealing resources, quote unquote. And so somebody made a TikTok about him as like this fellow Helldivers, like, there's a bounty on this dude, and look out for him if you see him, kill him.
Rogue Helldiver.
That's amazing. This community is awesome.
Insane. What can help us against the automatons, you may ask? Well, apparently mechs are good to go for Helldivers 2. According to TCMF Games on Twitter, Reddit user FozzyE18 has revealed that they've had access to the upcoming mech suit. They shared a video showcasing gameplay of the mech suit. According to the Helldivers Discord staff, they said that mech suits have been good to go for a while. Mechs have been good to go for a while. There's still additional polishing being done by people who can't assist with server issues. Fozzy E18 also mentions an energy RPG coming, a meteorite that hits like the nuke. Heck yeah. A group of Helldivers you can call in to support you, which are NPCs, and more is coming. They say also they're excited for this update to drop. This sounds very cool.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
See, you guys can tell me, but are there any other vehicles in the game, or is this the first one that's coming? Because
There's
I
no
know
vehicles.
First,
Okay.
Nothing.
yeah.
that's cool though, because the original had a couple of different ones. So that's cool that they might, update it in the future.
That's exciting to me because, like, I have not played Helldivers 1 at all, so I didn't really have any expectations of any vehicles. I just thought this was kind of the game.
Yeah.
So not only is the fact that mechs are coming, but Rose saying that there's even more vehicles that could possibly show up, it gets me very excited because I think certain elements of this game, like the backpack reloading your buddy when he's got an RPG out, like stuff like that just feels fun. So like I can only imagine the possibilities
Yeah.
with like vehicles and stuff like that. So
I think there was like I think there was a tank, but there was something else that more than one person could drive, I think, where there's like a turret and somebody drives. So like just like you're saying with the rocket launcher, you could have multiple people operating a single vehicle, which
that's so cool.
sounds like it'd be perfect for how they have this game now, the third person and stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Up next, Microsoft is apparently preparing to announce its DirectSR, which the SR stands for Super Resolution, support for Windows next month. So this could be possibly an indication of where Microsoft may be leaning into for next-gen consoles, and even this might actually be a big deal for all the handheld PC devices that we're getting now, like the Legion Go and what are the other ones? Steam. Well, not I guess Steam.
ROG Ally.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe this will help out those devices and beef up some resolution using AI scaling.
Everything's AI. You can't escape it.
That's
Everything.
true.
Everything is AI.
Unfortunately.
Speaking of AI, Daniel,
What? Oh, yes, that's exactly the next item I have in the quick bites right here. GameSense has announced that they are building a device that releases scents during gaming. Thanks, Jeff, for posting this on Twitter. Jeff Keighley posted this. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Sophisticated AI releases real sense alongside your gameplay, including smells of gunfire, explosions, racing, storm, forest, and upgradable DLC scents include napalm, human exertion, ocean, and a golf course. Yeah, you can pre-order it now for $149.99. I will not be doing that.
Dude, I love the smell of racing when I'm just playing. When I'm playing racing games, I always wish I could smell racing, and now, dude, it's incredible. The smell of a golf course was a DLC. Does that just mean outside? Like, does that just
I don't know.
you can simulate fresh air while you're playing video games? This is ridiculous. And Dan and I were talking off the podcast, but like, what's the ramifications, like physically? Like, what is this thing releasing into the air?
Yeah.
As well, if it's trying to replicate like napalm and gunpowder. I don't know if I'd go for this one.
There's an area in Elden Ring where you go through the sewers of Lanedale Capital, and you keep going down to the bottom, and you like enter like this area where it's just like full of like like ankle deep still water of just excrement. So it'd be pretty cool to smell shit while you play Elden Ring.
Would it
Immerse
be?
myself. Really cool.
Disgusting. I ain't going down there. If that thing's releasing that scent, I ain't going down there. Our next quick bite: the PlayStation 5 version of Pentiment, which was just released by Microsoft, of course, the company that makes Xbox, runs at 120. It was me being facetious. The game runs at 120 FPS on PS5 compared to 60 FPS on Xbox, which later Tom Warren followed up his tweet to say, Obsidian has confirmed to me that the 120 frames per second option for Pentiment was planned to release at the same time on Xbox alongside the PS5 launch, but a bug has delayed the update. So there you go. Kind of the first of its kind that a game runs better on PlayStation that's made by Microsoft.
Incredible.
That's wild.
Yeah. This news right here is about to get Roe going. Pokemon Legends ZA has been announced, and it is coming on Nintendo Switch systems in 2025.
Yeah, Pokemon Legends. I honestly don't know how it's pronounced. I'm not sure if it's ZA or Z-A, something weird like some Kingdom Hearts title. But I like Pokemon Legends ZA because it sounds funny. But yeah, this is cool. I love the Legends Arceus game that came out, I guess 2 years ago at this point, maybe 1 year. And I'm glad that they're making more because I really like that style of gameplay. This is a Kalos remake or revisiting, which is the X and Y region. Not something that anybody was expecting, but a lot of Pokemon fans are happy that they're doing it. So I'm excited that they're doing it as well, and I'm excited that they're taking the year off to make this maybe not as good as they can, but at least they're taking a year off, which is something they usually don't do. So yeah, that's exciting. Hopefully they get it a little bit more polished than the last Pokemon game that came out.
Heck yeah. Let's get back into catching some Pokemon in the high grass.
And it might be a Switch 2 title, maybe.
True.
That could be why that it's delayed too. I didn't think of that, but
true.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
What else tracks? Playdead has updated its Twitter header and avatar for their next game. Of course, they are hard at work at a brand new third-person sci-fi adventure game. A lot of people were dubbing it as Outside when they first showed the first screenshot. So now we got a little bit more of a glimpse at this game, and people are excited.
Hell yeah. I think this is the one time I didn't do a prediction at the beginning of the year for it, because I feel like every year, like, it's going to be this year. They're probably not going to announce it or release it this year, obviously, but hopefully this year they actually do announce it like we're expecting now. Very
Right.
excited.
Somebody pointed out that Playdead, at the rate they release games, is pretty much a once per generation.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Limbo was PS3 or PS4.
It was PS3, 360.
Okay, yeah, on that cusp. Yeah, because then it was remastered for PS4. You're right. Yes.
Was it really? Wow.
Yeah.
And then Inside was it was PS4. So this would be PS5 and Xbox 720 or whatever the fuck. Sorry, Series X S. Sorry. And no, just kidding. And yeah, man, these guys they take their time to make one game, and every time they release it, it's like one of the best of the generation. Inside is like for me is an S tier game, will always be. And seeing 2 screenshots of their next one has me super geeked. It looks so gorgeous, dude.
Hell yeah. Looks very good. We're all excited to see more. Christian's very excited about this movie crossover. I don't know. I filled that in. Christian's probably not excited, but I'm going to fill that in for him. Paranormal Activity franchise has returned in 2026 with a brand new game. This brand new game is being developed from Dread XP and the Mortuary Assistant developer Brian Clark. The game will feature an advanced haunt system for maximum terror. This game will bring the franchise's groundbreaking found footage style to horror enthusiasts in surprising new ways, immersing them in a story that expands upon the lore and the world of the films. Dread XP co-director and creative director Brian Clark, the developer of the acclaimed Mortuary Assistant, and is leading the development. So, are we excited about this?
I don't really know what this means. Maximum terror. All I know is that there was a rumor that the Phasmophobia is coming to consoles pretty soon. I think that was confirmed by the developers that it's coming to consoles soon. So we're gonna have some more ghost hunting games in the mix altogether. One of them with an established IP. We'll see if it fares well.
Right. I'm curious what his groundbreaking introducing found footage into video games means, because I'm pretty sure a decade ago we got The Outlast, which was pretty much you walking around with a video camera and doing a found footage thing. So they might be a little late to the party on that and bringing found footage to video games, but this is I guess this is cool, has the potential to be cool. I don't know. I also my headcanon is that Brian Clark is the name of a studio with 15 people in it.
I guess the coolest thing this game could do would be to utilize microphones and cameras that are on my device for something interesting. But I don't know how they would do that,
Right.
If it's real life footage, show me sitting in my room somewhere and a ghost is behind me. But it's just
creepy.
Fake or something,
right in your hall right there with that door open, it's darker behind you.
That's actually pretty ominous now that you pointed out. Yeah.
Creepy. All right. Well, let's move aside from the creepiness, I guess. I don't know. That's my best segue. David Vonderhaar has announced a brand new studio, Bullet Farm. Of course, he's the former Call of Duty Black Ops developer, worked at Treyarch for a long time. This studio is being based in Los Angeles, and it's the remote first Los Angeles-based studio. So apparently he's going to be focusing on a remote studio. That'd be interesting. Backed by NetEase and is on the hunt for staff. They're working on an ambitious new AAA game set in an original universe with an emphasis on cooperative gameplay. This unannounced new game is built using Unreal Engine 5 and will craft a more intimate and relatable experience while offering a fresh take on first-person gameplay. There we go. Gage is happy.
Somebody from Treyarch is doing something it's good. It's exciting. Treyarch is probably the best Call of Duty studio in my opinion. And the fact that this guy is leaving this to make a PvE first-person shooter tells me that this guy probably has something to do with Nazi zombies. And if they're building a whole game around that, color me excited.
That could be cool.
PvE shooting, baby. PvE shooting. It's the era.
Thank God for it. I think PvP. I'm getting tired of PvP. It's still fun, BattleBit Remastered had its moment for me. That was awesome. But when I want to sit down and have a fun time with the lads, I'm mostly thinking about PvE stuff now, like Lethal Company and Helldivers and stuff like this.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Well, You know what you are excited for, Christian, though? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Why do you keep using
But-
me as the segue?
I don't know, because you're the last one talking.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I see a pigeon, and then I'm like, pigeon. I don't know. That was... Anyways. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Square Enix has mislabeled all the Japanese versions of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Apparently, all the discs that say that are supposed to say the play disc actually were printed with data disc, and all the data discs were printed with play disc, confusing everyone.
Incredible. What a mistake to be made. That's incredible.
Oh my
Incredible.
God.
I added 2 more Final Fantasy VII stories.
Yes.
The other one is that they updated Remake, the first FF7. They updated it to change a line, which is like Aerith's last line, which in the original, when the game release version was, I miss the steel sky. And in the update is Aerith saying, the sky, I don't like it. Which is weird. They said that it's supposed to be for better localization, like it's a better translation of the original Japanese version, the original script. But I think it makes for a weaker like line to end on. I miss the steel sky just has like more of like poetic ramifications that I think the sky I don't like it just doesn't hit as hard despite the translation being closer to the original. It's kind of weird. And then a fun one, after you unlock the bikini suits in FF7 Rebirth, you can play the rest of the game in those sets. So Cloud, Barret, Tifa, Aerith can all be played in swimsuits. Have fun.
You will.
Oh my God. Wonderful.
What's not wonderful though, Ro, is Resident Evil 4's QA disaster. This is, of course, the remake, not the original game that came out in 2004, in case anyone was really confused about that. But apparently, according to a new documentary, we've gotten some more details about QA. So at the time of filming the episode, Resident Evil 4 Remake had 1 month left in development. 1 month before its release date. With a slew of QA issues that needed to be addressed, one development team member disclosed that they found around 70 bugs after finishing just 1 day of playtesting. Resident Evil 4 Remake director Yasuhiro Anpo detailed several bugs, from the screen freezing at random points to Leon falling from the map. At this rate, we won't make release, Anpo said in the episode. The episode goes into detail of the activities of QA testers during the game development, delving into the extensive gameplay testing to ensure proper functionality. But I just thought this was insane that a month before the game is out and they had 70 bugs that this tester found in 1 day. Like, that's insane.
That's crazy. Yeah, really working down to the wire, and the fact that they actually got it out is also insane. Like they said, they didn't think that they're going to make release,
Yeah.
and they did, which is it's crazy. But yeah, it turned out to be. Oh, Christian, you're muted, I think.
But at what cost? Let me see the hours they worked.
Right? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Some good news here for Christian and I and nobody else. Remedy acquires full rights to Control from 505 Games. They wrote up a contract and got control of Control. Let's go.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think something came out today as well that somebody from Remedy was talking about how the success of Alan Wake 2 has pretty much freed them up to do kind of whatever they wanted to do next, which is exciting. Pretty cool. Alan Wake going from cold classic to now a game that enabled the studio to just kind of have free reign to do whatever they want.
Yeah, and it takes place in the same universe as Alan Wake, so very.
That shit was so exciting to me.
Cool. Yeah,
Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, And it wasn't like overbearing either. It was just like very subtle, you know.
Holy shit! There's a machine here from the FBC. What the
Yeah.
fuck are they doing here? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Also, was this week too? Because someone else commented that From acquired Elden Ring from Namco. Was that recent?
Last week.
Oh, that was last week. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, very cool. We love seeing the developers own their stuff instead of publishers.
Yeah.
And we move to our last quick bite, and that comes from the beautiful words of Ubisoft, of course. They are announcing that they have record engagement, player engagement, since launch for Skull and Bones. But they've provided us with absolutely no data to back that up.
Trust us. Just trust us.
Trust me,
Of
bro.
course. Trust me, bro. Yeah.
In fact, actually, we know the number of people playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag rose 200% on Steam after the release of Skull and Bones. So instead of actually generating excitement for Skull and Bones, I think they generated excitement for a 10-plus-year-old game.
My God.
It's the same thing that happened with Suicide Squad, where each of the Arkham games individually had higher concurrent numbers than Kill the Justice League.
Right.
Incredible.
It's almost like designing a game around trend chasing will net you an inferior product.
It's true.
But unfortunately, I mean, apparently, Skull and Bones is like this. It's so unfortunate that this is the game that Ubisoft has deemed super successful. Is that this
Right. And not what-
amalgamation of live service elements and past game elements that they've kind of crammed into this product over the past decade. I don't know. That's super unfortunate, but
Yeah. And not the Prince of Persia game that just came out.
right, exactly.
Yes. Good point.
Which unfortunately it wasn't, because it didn't sell super well. I think we did a story on that, but it does suck, like Gage said, that's the game that supposedly did numbers for them.
Unfortunate. I bought it. I bought Prince of Persia.
Hell yeah.
I
I did
haven't
too.
played. I haven't
I'm
played
doing
it.
my part.
All
Played
right.
over 10 hours. I ended up bouncing out because I didn't think it was as good as a Metroidvania as the other ones I preferred, but it's still good, and it's, focused on other games.
Well, for a game of that genre, I feel like 10 hours is a pretty decent amount of time to spend with it.
That's
It's-
true. It was like a 30-hour game.
Yeah, it's a long game.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's run over some street meat. We're hungry. We need to put some on the grill. Yeah. Street meat number 1. Switch 2 is reportedly launching in March of 2025 at the earliest. So about the same time frame as the original Switch, possibly. And they're apparently doing it to ensure adequate supply and prevent scalping, but also to give more time to developers, according to various people. And then also we got a little bit of a leak, sort of, as well, that Samsung has announced next generation micro SD cards with SSD-like speeds that may have possibly been developed for Nintendo. Essentially, Samsung said that the development was a result of a successful collaboration with a customer, being very vague there, to create a custom product. So we could get some micro SD innovation coming out of the Switch, needing faster storage speeds. So that's very cool.
As long as they're not proprietary.
True. Yeah. Exciting.
I'm excited for a next generation to Switch, by the way.
Are you ready for it?
Don't get me wrong, I'm still getting like my money's worth out of this thing. I can't believe it, Like every year there's at least one, maybe sometimes two games coming out on that Switch that like, wow, this is one of my favorites of this year. So yeah, I'm excited to see what a Switch 2 can do for the likes of, a new Mario, new Donkey Kong, new Zelda, new Metroid,
Hell yeah.
new 1-2 Switch.
Maybe launching with a 3D Mario, right? Maybe. Who knows? Only one person knows. Miyamoto. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure a lot more people know. They don't actually know they're making a Mario game. They just play with
people working on
blocks.
it are like, oh god, what am I doing? What am I doing?
All right. Our last street meat item. There's rumors on the next Battlefield game. More excitement here from Battlefield. We got Battlefield. We got, Marcus left, of course. That's sad. But Battlefield. The next Battlefield is planned for October 2025, Gage, and will feature 64-player matches, 4-class system, destruction. Will have a free-to-play Battle Royale mode at launch. Or I'm sorry, it doesn't say at launch, but I'm kind of projecting that. Game is also set in the modern era, 2025 to 2030. And this is coming from Insider Gaming. So, does that excite you, Gage? You're the resident Battlefield bad boy.
I am. Yeah, I guess I'm excited. It's funny. I feel like the setting is a bit odd because I feel like Battlefield 2042 is essentially modern day. Like that's pretty close. And so are they gonna have less futuristic stuff slightly in a game set in 2030 or 2025? Like, I don't know. It's a bit weird. I was kind of hoping that they might go balls to the wall and kind of do 2142, like a reboot of that game, which is very popular and has a cult following. Yeah, it's interesting. It's we'll see how it shakes up. The free to play battle royale I have a feeling is going to be dead on arrival. As was their, what was it called, Firestorm or something like that they made for Battlefield 5, which obviously did not last very long. So we'll see. I don't know. I think we should root for a Battlefield game to have a really good battle royale, because I think that the game lends itself to that genre, I guess. It's just that we're running into the problem that battle royales are kind of at the end of their time in the sun. So I don't know, but it does kind of suck that Battlefield never had a really good, competent battle royale with the destruction and how they do things like Levolution. Like, I feel like it's just kind of there, similar to Halo. Like Dan and I talk about Halo. That I feel like the recipe's kind of there, but at the same time, I think they might be past their moment. So we shall see. Is it again? Is this one of those things where it's a battle royale, but really it's an extraction shooter or something? I don't know. We'll see. But color me interested in Battlefield. The formula for Battlefield has always been great. I always want it to do well.
I think the issue for me is like how does DICE support a ongoing battle royale game and the base game at the same time? Because like Call of Duty does it, but they have 1,000 million developers all working on it. So yeah, I think that's partially why Firestorm wasn't that well received, because they didn't continuously like add stuff to it.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because the last game that I can... So obviously Battlefield 4, I think in the history of AAA shooters, might have the best post-launch support ever, because that game had 1 million DLCs, and after the 2-year cycle or whatever it was, a lot of those DLCs were free that they gave out before a lot of people started doing that. But also Battlefield 1 had an incredible post-launch support. They did things classic, like you had to pay for the DLC installments. They were like, $15 or whatever each one. But I remember they had like at least 3 or 4 different themed DLCs and they added a couple of new factions that you could play as. And I remember they added horses in one of them, like you could run around with a horse and have a spear. So like Battlefield is not like... It's not new to them to have really great post-launch support, but for the last couple of titles, they've really struggled. So I'd be interested to know what changed at the studio. Again, as we'll talk about later, almost certainly not the developer's choice. I'm sure this has to do with big wigs coming in and telling them what to prioritize. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see Battlefield kind of fall like this, because you're right. Now, current Battlefield, I'm worried. Can they actually support both of these? But I mean, if we were to dip back to 2016 or before then, I would have no worries at all. So it's it's definitely unfortunate how studios can change like that.
I think the thing that excites me the most about a new Battlefield is when I think back to Battlefield 4, as Gage just mentioned, that one felt like a true next generation experience when that launched back on, new hardware at the time, PS4 and Xbox One consoles. 2042, I think, launched at a time where it was like the end of that console's life cycle, but not quite next gen for the next generation of consoles. So it kind of wasn't that like weird middle ground where it's like it's not really a next gen game per se. It's not like, sure, you might get some improved frame rates and stuff, but it's not fully using the capabilities of new hardware. Having this be at like what you would call like the end of like the first wave of these consoles, I think is exciting for me. And like, what can they do with Levolution on that front? You know, in terms of like loading into games and stuff, like what kind of destruction and what kind of maps can they design around that? That to me, I think is gonna be like the make or break for a return to Battlefield. And then having the devs like after 2042's kind of meandering launch, them kind of refocus like what a Battlefield experience should be for the next game. Like, yeah, it sucks that they had to do that for 2042, like to focus on the next one. But the good news is, well, they are focusing on this one, and hopefully it'll be a super sick ass game that we all jump into and have fun.
Oh yeah. Let's get some Levolution. And maybe, you know, the finals is a little bit of a taste of what we may see from that, because that's a next gen game, right? That's not on previous gen, right?
True. No, the tech
Yeah.
is definitely built around next gen. Yeah.
And not just a taste, but like, in my opinion, like healthy competition.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. All right. That's our quick bites and our street meets. No PXN news of the week, so ladies and gentlemen, if you came for that, I don't know what to tell you. Just kidding. Moving into our fantasy draft check-in, we have a check-in here, gents. But the thing is, we still don't have any new pickups. However, we've got some new stuff that has released. I don't think, did we talk about Penny's Big Breakaway last week? Getting a score yet?
It didn't have a score yet
Okay.
last week.
And Penny's Big Breakaway for Euro now has a score of 78, which is gaining you 8 points right now. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Rowe having Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with a 93 Open Critic score. And it is not finalized yet, but when that baby finalizes, that will be 26 points
Jeez.
headed your way.
Damn.
Incredible.
Oh god. I hope it stays that way.
I'll be happy if Rowe wins.
I mean, Rowe's literally running away with it right now. I mean,
For now. Yeah, 10 months to go.
once that 26 points gets added, Rowe will be at 80 points. And we're almost to March. That's it. 80 points.
Here's the thing. If Gage wins, it's like, hell yeah. You know what? He had 2 bad years. He fucking turned it around and he crushed it. Good for him. If Rowe wins, it's like, okay, well, the best of us actually earned it. Like, finally, like,
Right.
hell yeah. Rowe deserves it. If Dan wins, fuck that. This game's rigged. It sucks.
The villain wins again.
The thing is that what I'm scared about is that I don't have counter picks yet. And the longer the time goes by,
Right?
the more better games comes out and the more the scores are already finalized. And I don't want to pick any of the games that you guys already have right now. So I'm very scared about that. Oh god. Yeah. Hopefully it's not enough though.
Honestly, I think we're going to have to start thinking about what games are not going to come out this year. Because that's the key, I think. A lot of good stuff this year. All right. So that's our check-in there. Let's do another quick check-in with Halo, the series on Paramount. Gage and I have watched episode 4. I will say I was very excited, very hyped for episode 4. I will say it probably didn't quite hit my hype expectations, but I was also expecting it to cover more of what we didn't see in terms of Reach falling, which I think we're going to see more of next episode. So I think they kind of expanded it out more into more episodes. I don't know if you've seen the teaser yet for episode 5 yet, Gage, but it looks like they're going to continue the fighting into the next week as well. So yeah, very, very excited for tomorrow's new episode, but episode 4 was solid. Yeah, And the elite, fucking Arbiter, fucking just ripping. Spoiler alert: Arbiter just ripping a dude's head off with the energy sword or slicing it in half. That was pretty cool.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about how I'm gonna say this. Halo Season 2. This is, if I could sum it up in one sentence, this is how I feel about Halo Season 2. Halo Season 2 is inconsistently great. I feel like is my tagline for this series. There's still a lot of dialogue issues. There's still a lot of pacing issues. Characters saying one thing and in the next scene they're conveniently doing something else. But when this hits, it hits. When the Fall of Reach starts, there's this awesome scene with Chief and this Marine character who they're kind of building up to be Chief's, like, I don't know, he's carrying after this character, this just regular ass Marine. They're running through the city center, and people just start getting, like, tossed, and you don't really see what it is, and then you realize that it's just cloaked elites that are invisible and that the invasion has started. It's such a cool way to start the invasion without some sort of big wide shot of ships descending or something like that. They're just kind of walking through the city, and suddenly civilians just start getting thrown through glass, and you're like, what's going on? And that's the part of Halo that I really wish they'd lean more into, is that to the average person, the Covenant are like monsters. They're like these forces of nature that you just can't comprehend. So certain things about it were awesome. Am I a little bit upset that we saw the Fall of Reach without any of the Spartans in their armor? Like, yeah, that kind of stings a little bit. But at the same time, I can't get too mad because the reason that they have it for the lore makes sense. I think the character that they're building up to be the villain, the human character that they're building up to be the villain, is pretty good. Yeah, an inconsistently great episode, I would say. There are some moments that were awesome. I tweeted about some that Dan saw, and we agree on probably those, and then some other things that we wish might have been handled better. But McKee, yeah, that's that's a big sore spot. But yeah, inconsistently great is what I would say about Halo Season 2, and I'm excited about. I hope this next episode is just as action heavy, because that would balance out the this episode. I think if they split this across 2 episodes, it would be pretty good. Indeed.
Very interested to see how they conclude the Fall of Reach. Will it actually fall? I'm just kidding. Right. It will fall. It's hard not to be excited about that as a Halo fan. Finally seeing that in live action. That's the big thing, right? It's a huge event in the lore, so pretty cool stuff. For sure. I will talk about this right now in What You Got For Me, Daniel. Daniel has been, yes, Gage. I've been watching Arcane due to Gage just fucking begging every day. I finally resubscribed to Netflix, and I was like, all right, I'll start watching it. So I've watched the first 4 episodes of Arcane, and it is very good so far. I've very, very much enjoyed it. And of course, I know nothing about League of Legends, which I know you don't have to know anything about them. But yes, they've done a really great job with character development already in the series. And like the animation, like you were always gushing about, Gage, is really good, top tier. It's very clear to me how much detail they put into that and effort and they actually cared about working on this, right, which is very cool. Yeah, it's really great thus far. I'm excited to continue watching it. Keep it going. Some sad moments, You're just getting started, buddy. You're just getting started. Episode 4, please. That's a pipe dream so far.
Oh God.
What else do I have for you? Halo Epitaph, I felt like I should shout out because that is the newest book that just came out by Kelly Gay. She wrote the, I think, Kilo trilogy, and she is now continuing the Forerunner arc that Greg Bear started. Of course, Greg Bear passed away, unfortunately. But I am hearing from a lot of Halo fans that this is the best Halo book that's ever released. Like, many people are saying that the lore in this book is incredible. And of course, it's the return of the Didact from Halo 4. And God, I wish I read books because I really would run to read this if I did. I don't know. I need to.
You can find like an audiobook maybe if you're,
Yes.
That's a good compromise. I've been thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
That's
you do
fair.
a lot of chores. You walk Buck around a lot.
That's true.
Could be a way to do it. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point. You know what, Christian? You're on to something. I'm going to do that. That's a good idea. Thank you. Also, big happy birthday to Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. It is their anniversaries. Halo Wars 2's 7th anniversary. Give us fucking Halo Wars 3. Anyways, that's it. Ro, what you got for me?
Nothing this week, unfortunately. Haven't played any more Persona.
Oh, wait.
And that was
and
what
what
I've
was
been playing. But yeah.
More
That was the
Persona?
same thing that Rashan typed up above.
Oh, yeah.
Rashan and I were on the same wavelengths. He typed in talk about Arcane. I typed in and. So we're
Okay.
both talking about the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I watched some of Avatar: The Last Airbender live action, but that's not a video game. That's all I did.
Was it good?
How was it?
It was okay. It was okay. Yeah.
Not as bad as M Night's take on it,
Definitely
I'm
not.
guessing.
Definitely not. Yes. Definitely not.
Christian, what you got for me?
I got halfway through the Hideo Kojima Connecting Worlds documentary on Hulu and Disney. It's on both platforms. Actually, I don't know if it's on both, but I found it through Disney. It's a Hulu joint. Anyway, I didn't know what I was expecting out of it, but they kind of detail like a lot of Hideo's like early ventures into forming the studio and working on the first Death Stranding throughout the first couple of years and like announcing it. And it's actually pretty cool to get some of the behind the scenes of what it was like building like the mechanics of that game. And so then seeing like what different like actors and directors are saying about Hideo, it's kind of interesting. I still have 3 minutes to go, so I don't have final thoughts, but so far it's pretty cool. And then just more Helldivers too. I'm working on a video for Dual Shockers that is on war and like the aesthetics of war. So naturally you got to talk about Helldivers too. And it's a fucking great piece that I'm writing. The writing isn't done just yet. I'm gonna give it another pass of polish, but it's a really cool I'm really excited for this piece to come together. So yeah, and also Helldivers 2, just good. I'm on, what is it? I think I reached like level 31.
Jesus.
I played quite a bit.
Insane.
Oh my lord.
And I'm now at the point where like I am comfortable with my stratagems depending on the mission that I'm doing. And with the right crew, we were able to do level 8 pretty much no problem. I have yet to try a hell dive though, and I'm kind of waiting to see when I get like a full 4-player squad going. But for now, at least level 8 was like, we finished one mission. We're like, damn, give us a challenge, because we found we were so comfortable with our stratagem uses. Like I was fighting bile. I have clips. I've saved them of me running towards 2 bile titans to like shoot them in the face and taking both down. It's great.
The one where you posted stratagems coming down and you staring off, that was awesome.
Oh, the emote with me, the hug
Right.
emote with the nuke right in front of my face. Yeah.
I did forget that I played Helldivers with Guy and Gage. I tried to block that out of my memory because I was defending myself for my life to Guy, who was constantly trying to kill me the entire match. And guess who kept killing him because he wasn't good enough to kill me? That's right.
Just
played with
everyone
Guy
at
as well.
home. Yeah, well, those 2 play sessions led into one another. So that was what happened right before we squared
Yeah.
up with you, Christian. Yeah.
Yeah, I got off, went to bed because I was literally, I was falling asleep at the controller. And then I see you send the message, get back in here, Dad. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm about to pass the fuck out. But yes, Gage.
Democracy wasn't super important that night for Dan. I have
You bitch. Is this real? Is this from this week?
look at the parentheses.
All right.
So I booted up Sons of the Forest because it had its 1.0 release, only to jump in and see how my machine was handling it, if I remember the controls, XYZ, just to kind of dip my feet back into the water. So I don't really have a whole lot to say about that. Other than that, I'm very excited to, hopefully with Christian, get into this. Christian and Dan, and Rashan, if he wanted to, if he was feeling tough, feeling brave, get into this. Very excited to get in. So that's going to be on the docket for that might have more to say about that later in the coming weeks. Dan and I, another thing Dan forgot with his advanced memory.
Played like 10 minutes of that.
We jumped into Dead Island 2 on Dan's request, and I would say we played about an hour. We were talking because we were talking with Guy before we jumped into
That's
that.
true.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough to say on it other than that it definitely feels like Dead Island. Like for whatever that's worth, it feels a lot like the Dead Island of old. And then Helldivers. Played Helldivers with friend of the show Guy and Dan, and then I went on another tour with Christian shortly afterwards. Now Christian just said that we were doing level 8 missions, and after the mission ended, he was like, "Oh, it's give me a challenge." While he's
that was
saying
not
that, Guy and I are
That was
sitting
not
down
you.
crying, collecting ourselves, and Christian's like, "Oh, GG easy," and it was not. It was not GG easy. It was terrifying. It was
We
relentless.
didn't play level 8 with you guys. We did level 7.
We did the second last one with you. We absolutely did, because you were talking about it. I'm pretty sure we did, but Christian's saying we didn't. I'm pretty sure we did. But either way,
Roll the
yes,
clip.
Christian was showing us the ropes and leading us to victory for democracy. Helldivers 2 continues to be a blast. Great game. Super excited for all the success that they're having. All the stars have aligned in this game because it's one that like the CEO seems like he knows what's up. The community is acting fantastic. The sales numbers are great. Everything's just good. Everything's good.
There's somebody that works at Arrowhead. His title is called Game Master. And
Right.
they refer to it as like sort of like the same as like a DM in D&D, where like he's pretty much dictating all the major events that are happening in Helldivers, like for the community, which I think is like such a baller way to go about like content strategy
Right.
for a game.
What also like that guy gets to wake up every morning and that's his job. That's awesome. Good for him.
All right. We're going into the meat and potatoes of this episode, the sad part of this episode. The topic of the show, we're going to talk about how to fix AAA gaming. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get there, we've got a lot of bad news to talk about. To start off, some industry layoff news. This isn't developer layoffs, however, very much relevant as it is journalism layoffs in regards to the video game industry. GameStop has officially laid off one more person from Game Informer, which you think you're like, man, one more person from Game Informer, that's probably not that many, percentage-wise. Somebody posted, actually, sorry, this is Alex Van Aken, the video editor at Game Informer, posted a graphic here of the current staff at Game Informer. Christian?
Not just the video editor. The entire video team is just and has been Alex for months.
Yes. Insane. And the reason that is because there's only, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 people left at Game Informer. So one more person is literally 1/14 of the staff that just got laid off.
This used to be one of the biggest outlets ever, like in video game industry. It's crazy.
Insane. Yeah. It's can't even imagine. And of course, Alex also posts on Twitter. He said, imagine looking at the number of people on this masthead who churn out weekly podcasts, videos, and daily online editorials, in addition to shipping an 84-page print magazine every 6 weeks, and somehow justifying cutting it even more. Awful. Awful.
Blake will be missed. I have no idea why they did it, because that dude is like one of the smartest in the industry. He does a podcast with Jacob Geller called Something Rotten. Continuously like one of the most insightful podcasts on like just like games retrospectives that I've engaged with. So it sucks. Hope he lands on his feet somewhere else.
And apparently, one of his duties was working with like freelancers and stuff to help actually make the magazine happen because of how strapped for people they are. And so now they literally don't have anyone that does that. So it's like, what the fuck is gonna happen? Like it's not good.
Oh man, there was another outlet that just they didn't cut some people. They cut like everybody early, or was it last year? I don't remember who it was, but then they made their own.
When they made
Escapist?
second win? You telling them they made
Yes.
second win?
Oh yeah.
Yes. I'm curious. Do you guys remember? I'm sure obviously you guys remember that, but how is like Second Wind doing? Because I imagine that like this gentleman that just got fired, he could do something like that since he's so well respected in the industry based off.
Second one is doing very well. I follow them and I keep up with. They're very open because they're like fan funded now. Obviously, they have to if they want to do it. So they have like they run off Patreon, and they have like a lot of patrons, I guess you'd call them.
Okay.
Like they were like blowing away a lot of their early goals for like getting up and running. And they're doing so well now that they hired a video essayist, Goodblood, to like do a mini series. Like Goodblood does all the motion graphics, but now he does also like a video stuff for them, like on a separate playlist. But they're doing really, really well, and they do cool shit. Cold Take is a good video series.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear that, and that's what I was hoping to hear because I'm hoping that shit like this keeps happening, but I'm hoping the people that get affected by that still are able to do what they love because obviously they love it because they wouldn't be staying in this horrible industry for so long if they didn't. So hopefully they can find other avenues to do it, whether it be individually like the people we just mentioned. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen as much. I hope Alex Van Aken doesn't lose his position either because he's one of my favorite parts of Game Informer right now. But yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I just hope that they get on their feet afterwards.
Indeed. We wish all of these people affected the best. Yeah. Hopefully they can land on their feet and get back in there. That's what's difficult about, not just the game industry, but the journalism game industry, because there's so many people that are talented getting laid off, and then you have so many new talented people trying to get in, and it's like, yeah, it's very frustrating. All right. Moving into some expectations before we talk about all of the massive layoffs. Suicide Squad has fallen short of Warner Brothers' expectations because, of course, it has. During a financial call, Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Weidenfels admitted that Rocksteady's game hadn't done the business the company that had hoped for since going on sale on February 2nd, priced at $70, saying it had fallen short of our expectations. They failed to mention a sales figure for Rocksteady's game, but did say Suicide Squad's failure had set up the company's games business for a tough year-on-year comparison. Last year, Warner Brothers Discovery released Hogwarts Legacy, which went on to become the best-selling game of 2023. So in that comment right there, maybe what's the learning there, WB, to maybe just make single-player games that people love, like, your Batman games that you made a trilogy out of that were fantastic, and then you made this live service game, and of course it failed. And yeah, the writing's on the wall for Suicide Squad, but this is one of the issues with AAA games right now in the industry is live service.
Yeah, and hopefully they are one of the fortunate studios. They say that they're worried because of how it performed, but hopefully they're one of the fortunate studios that gets a second chance to make games again, and this is not the one that puts them under and the studio closes in a couple of years or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't see it happening, but it happens to a bunch of other ones because higher ups are making stupid decisions that
yeah. Well, I guess we'll get into that in like once we're through the rest of the topic of the show, news stories. But like, you have to wonder, with a bunch of rock steady, like former like management leaving because of the way this game was shaping out. Like, you wonder how much of it was of this game was formulated by, like, as Rose said, like those higher ups that like dictate you do this kind of game because these types of games make presumably profit and growth for shareholders, and like that's what ends up being made. It's like, well, obviously that's not the case.
Yeah, definitely backfired on them. All right, let's dig into the layoffs. We don't want to, but it's the meat here. This is where all the announcements are. not good announcements. But Supermassive has announced mass layoffs. They weren't specific with how many layoffs, but Jason Schreier did apparently write before the announcement that the British developer planned to lay off around 90 workers. Of course, Supermassive made Until Dawn, the Dark Pictures anthology, as well as, what was the more recent game? I'm trying to remember. The Quarry. So they made all of those games. Yeah, not good for Supermassive, smaller team there. Do you want me to go over all of these and then have a discussion about the layoffs?
Yeah, that's probably
Okay.
best.
Yeah.
All right. So then we, we're like, we're good. That was just 90 people, no more the rest of the year. We're good the rest of the year. Nope. Deck 9 also announced layoffs, which they posted on Twitter. Like many others in the game industry right now, Deck 9 has been affected by the game industry's worsening market conditions. Today, we made the difficult decision to lay off 20% of our staff. These people are amazing, talented, and awesome developers. They have made a huge impact during their time at Deck 9 Games, and we did not take this decision lightly. Please hire these people if you can. They're amazing. And then I also put one bright spot to this, was this. Deck 9 had a layoff today, and leadership took pay cuts to keep the number down as much as possible. This is the strongest team Deck 9 has ever been, and it absolutely sucks that the industry is in the state that it is in presently. And that comes from one of the game directors at Deck 9 who stated that. So a tiny bright spot in what's awful news, obviously. But moving on from there, we get into the real big announcement here, which is that Sony has announced an 8% cut to their PlayStation staff, which is equating to about 900 jobs. I have a shitload of news stories here attached to this, I'm realizing. PlayStation has a statement that they put out as well, but I'll just start here with Tom Warren, who said they're laying off 900 employees. Sony's London studio in the UK is closing fully, with reductions at the Firesprite studio and impacts to employees across all regions. Sony's statement, it is important to provide you with updates about the business as often as possible. Today, I'm writing with sad news. Through discussions over the past few months about the evolving economic landscape, changes in the way we develop, distribute, and launch products, and ensuring our organization is future ready in this rapidly changing industry, we have concluded that tough decisions have become inevitable. The leadership team and I made the incredibly difficult decision to restructure operations, which regrettably includes a reduction in our workforce, impacting very talented individuals who have contributed to our success. After careful consideration and many leadership discussions over several months, it has become clear changes need to be made to continue to grow the business and develop the company. We had to step back, look at our business holistically, and move forward, focusing on the long-term sustainability of the company and delivering the best experiences possible for our community. The goal is to streamline our resources to ensure our continued success and ability to deliver experiences gamers and creators have come to expect from us. So they go into it a bit further, discussing that they wanted to be transparent as transparent as possible, saying 900 people, 8% of their workforce were affected. For all of you in the US, all impacted employees will be notified today. In the UK, it is proposed, different verbiage there, it is proposed that PlayStation Studios' London studio will close in its entirety. There will be reductions in Firesprite Studio, and there will be reductions in various functions across SIE in the UK. In Japan, we will implement a next career support program. Details will be communicated separately. In other countries, we will begin conversations with those who are potentially at risk or impacted as a result of this proposed course of action. Of course, very different language depending on what country you're in, which shows how terrible the U.S. is in terms of supporting people that are laid off, which is not
Yes.
good. We also got a statement from Insomniac Games. Like several other teams across SIE and PlayStation Studios, Insomniac Games was impacted by yesterday's layoffs. There are no sufficient words to express our feelings about it. This is a solemn and unprecedented moment for our studio. We are focusing our energy on helping everyone affected through this challenging time. For those who are hiring, these are great people seeking new roles who made important contributions to Insomniac's history. We're extremely grateful for them, and they will be missed. And then, of course, we'll follow up with another Tom Warren tweet, which, of course, as I just read there, Insomniac Games is impacted. Naughty Dog is impacted. Of course, London Studio, Guerrilla, and, of course, Firesprite, as I already mentioned. So a lot of big studios getting affected as well. And then we got a look at someone kind of pointing fun because just 5 days ago, Jim Ryan was visiting Sony London studio, and they were saying farewell to him as he was retiring. And you know fucking damn well, Jim Ryan, like, this had to have been in the works for a decent amount of time. And you know damn well Jim Ryan knows that those fucking people are about to be laid off, and he's going to stand there in the middle of them. God, fuck, Jim.
Right.
I don't know.
Allowing himself to be the center of attention at that party, and everybody wish him
Right.
bad optics. Yeah.
And also, in case you were wondering, what do you have to do to deserve getting laid off like this? Well, you could be Firesprite Studios, who wins an award, a DICE award for immersive reality technical achievement for Horizon Call of the Mountain, and a bunch of them were laid off. We also, what else we got? Yes, we already talked about that. The different countries handling things differently. The U.S., you're done today. In the UK, we're proposing to regulators the cuts, and we'll let you know. In Japan, you'll actually get a career program, support program to help you find a new gig. Very different in different countries. The US, awful.
My God.
And lastly, for the Sony piece, Sony has reportedly canceled an unannounced Twisted Metal live service game as part of today's mass layoffs. All that PlayStation news.
I think the Twisted Metal game was also from Firesprite. They were the ones doing a rumored to be like a battle royale game, I think, maybe. Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned it. Like, what a disgusting thing to do, to go travel to your going away retirement party, whatever it is, and then knowing full well that you're signing off on closing the entire studio down just days later. The Firesprite one is, I think, just as evil for me, where like they're the only ones that have made a product that is actually supporting PSVR 2 from a first party standpoint. Like, they own them now, right? And how are they rewarded? I mean, obviously with the DICE award, but like rewarded with cuts. Like, really? Like, why would I be wanting to invest in a PSVR 2, let alone like a Sony console now? Like, any kind, like, what are we doing?
And it's Sony's failures because they haven't supported the PSVR 2. Like, that thing was dead on arrival. Like, it's not, you're blaming the developer, Sony, but yet you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because like the reason the game didn't sell is because the actual platform didn't sell that well.
Again, go ahead.
The wildest thing to me, again, is the cuts made to first party successful studios. Like, people have already pointed out that like the best selling game ever for Sony, it doesn't matter how successful you are, you're gonna have cuts. Why? Because at the end of the day, a shareholder wants to see growth for their next quarter. And how do you do that? Well, you just cut a bunch of people. That way you keep costs down, and you end up on a spreadsheet it looks like we're actually growing, but really you're not. Like, you're gutting literally everything, and you're making it horrible to even get stuff even made.
Yeah, we are regressing. I don't know why I couldn't say regressing. We are regressing by cutting all of these people, and yeah, it's awful. And we still have one more to talk about that was fresh right before the pod. And that is, of course, we talked about Marcus Lehto earlier leaving Ridgeline Games. Apparently he didn't know about this, or maybe, I don't know. He seemingly didn't know about it. EA has announced 680 layoffs, about 5% of their staff. And they also said that they are planning to move away from future licensed IP to double down on owned IP, sports, and online communities. They also have a bit more details here from Shinobi602 on Twitter. Great resource. Thank you, Shinobi. More on EA. Respawn's unannounced Star Wars FPS game that we just talked about 2 weeks ago, I think, the Mandalorian possible game, has been canceled. Ridgeline Games, of course, we talked about Marcus Lehto earlier, that he was leaving Ridgeline. Ridgeline Games, which was working on a single-player Battlefield experience, is being shut down. Development on the next Mass Effect will continue, with BioWare's focus currently on Dragon Age, which I said this in our chat. How the fuck is Dragon Age Dreadwolf not out yet? I have no clue. Insane. And the last bit of the EA news, Marcus Lehto posted after all of this happened and said, "Gut punch to see EA lay off my team. So many very talented devs who were incredibly valuable to the Battlefield franchise." And there's also information that I didn't see that was underneath that coming from Bravo Intel that says, as part of today's layoffs, their Ridgeline was shut down. However, Battlefield's narrative work is now being led by Criterion Games. Since what? Like, Criterion made Burnout and fucking
Right.
racing games. Yeah, and we're just gonna hand Criterion the narrative reins to Battlefield now, I guess.
It's it's just like corporate restructuring and like shuffling things around in a way that like clearly indicates that they don't understand. Like, this isn't a retail store where you can just change people's duties and like, okay, this is your new job now. Like, this is art, and like I think that not to bring up Arcane for the millionth time, but you said you were watching Arcane and you said it's a product that you can feel that there is passion and that they cared about it. Like, video games are the same. A lot of the best games that we play, like Helldivers is a great example. Helldivers is not the best looking game I've ever seen. It's probably not even in the top 10 that have released like recently. But you're playing it and you can feel that people cared about it because everything comes together in such a way that like you can just feel the love. And so, like, not only are all these people getting laid off, these things are getting canceled, but, like, just when they come in, they say, yeah, all this stuff that these people have worked on, especially when it comes to a narrative side of these video games, like these plot threads and all these characters that these people have been working on and writing. Yeah, now, sorry, we're going to give it to, like you said, the Burnout team, the racing team. And, like, sure, that'll work out great. I'm sure that'll be great. That'll end up really good. This is ridiculous. This is just, it's getting to a point where it's just untenable, and I would love to see somebody do a deep dive as to what exactly the end game is. Like, are companies doing this to prepare their workforce for like the introduction of AI? Like, is this just the start of these companies being like, yeah, we're gonna try and reduce our headcount by like 20-30% and fill all these positions with just with AI? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's crazy because the video game industry as a whole keeps making more money year after year. That's the thing. That's what gets me, and I would love for somebody smarter than myself to explain it to me because I don't understand how these games companies could be making more and more money each year and be laying off more and more people. So, anyways, Criterion's writing the story of the next Battlefield. That's good.
Oh god.
I mean, I guess on that front, revenue wouldn't be the same as growth because it's making more money, but they're also spending way more money to make the shit.
I guess
Which
that's
is
fair, yeah.
which is the same thing as like movies. I have to talk about movies for a little bit. Patrick Williams has a great video essay, which is like a murder mystery 2-hour video essay on like who killed cinema, or 1 hour, something like that. And like the answer is obviously like it's multifaceted, but like he talks a lot about like, you know, the MCU-ification of cinema, where like a lot of the stuff being made was stuff that was chasing MCU style of like, not gonna get too deep into it, but it was like a lot of the same stuff is being fed to viewers, and so when so much of the same stuff is being made, then you kind of grow tired of it after a while. But then he like also talks about like executives, like Warner Brothers executives, kind of making just horrible decisions. We saw, of course, we're seeing that now with like Zaslav and you know, a lot of mergers, movies being shelved for no fucking reason. And the heart of it is like is really just like shareholders forcing these kinds of things on studios or whatever. And I point to Apple TV for whatever reason. Apple TV came into the market very recently, and they got onto the movie front, and they reached out to Martin Scorsese. And they gave Martin Scorsese a shit ton of money. They gave him $200 million to make whatever he wanted, and he made Killers of the Flower Moon. At the box office, Killers of the Flower Moon made $156.9 million. This could be called a flop because it did not make its money back. But that isn't the point. The point is, Martin Scorsese worked with Apple TV to make whatever he wanted something. That is saying something. That is saying something to every studio and director out there, being like, if you want to make a cool movie, Apple TV will be the place to do it. You will go work for them because they don't care about the money. They want cool shit to be made at Apple TV. That is like the thesis of hiring Martin Scorsese to do that. You look at games, it's like, are we really doing that anymore? I look to the PlayStation stuff, them cutting the UK stuff, like on their global market, like largely, speaks volumes about the kind of shit that is going to come out of Sony for years to come. I don't want a US-centric Sony to be making video games. I don't, because the US is really fucking boring when it comes to making games. Look at PlayStation UK and PlayStation US's Twitter accounts. Those things are very much different. UK one is far superior. They have the edge. Like there's like a UK scene that was built around PlayStation dating back to the PS2 and PlayStation 1 era. It is a tragedy to see much of that brand and identity just melt away because shareholders wanted to see numbers higher on a spreadsheet for the upcoming quarter. What is that going to mean years down the line when like there's nothing left of the industry? Like, what kind of games are going to be made from an industry like that? Not ones that I want to play, to be honest. I don't want a lot of the same shit. I don't want games that cost fucking $300 million to make when they really don't have an impact on me. Do you know what I mean? Sad shit.
Yeah, and like you don't see Sony or Microsoft or any of those executives that are announcing these layoffs or people in charge that are announcing these layoffs taking pay cuts like Deck Nine's leadership is doing. Like, you don't see that kind of stuff, and you don't see the shareholders saying, "Oh no, we're good. We've got 6% profit. We're good with that. We're making money. We're fine." You don't see any of that shit. It's all, we need more. We need more. The fucking the shareholders, you're exactly right, Christian. They just continuously demand more and more and more and more, and it's just extremely toxic towards the growth of a studio or a publisher or whatever. Yeah, it's not a good situation.
And like, when I wrote down the question, or like when you said like, how do we fix the games industry? It's not one that really has an answer, because in a perfect world, it would be awesome if we could just make shit for the art and have that be enough. But the answer is, well, of course it's not going to be. So then what do you do? And I mean, in that DualShockers pilot that I did for like saving the video games industry using PS2 logic, it was like, yeah, you have to harken back to the same thing Twitter has been saying time and time again, which is you want games that don't cost as much money to make for less money. Like, if you really want to see growth happen, you make a game on a smaller scale with a budget that's smaller, and hopefully, I mean, because it's hard, make a product that you actually believe in, like the case of Helldivers 2 that is suffering from success. Like, that is how you get a win in this industry moving forward, is you have to scale everything back. Otherwise, like how Gage said, it is actually untenable.
Or like we've talked about before also, like I feel like the industry has very much gone away from having developers having multiple teams. Like, such a small idea I think multiple teams is huge for the sustainability of a studio, because you have a small team working on like something super distant in the future, or a small team working on a small game, and you have your main team working on, whatever main game you have going on. I feel like there's so much more diversity and more imagination in terms of what we're getting out of the studio when you have multiple teams. And anymore, it's like Naughty Dog now is just a one studio fucking adventure now. Like every single one there works on the same game. Bungie, even back in the day when they were working on Halo, they always had multiple teams working on stuff. They had Halo Reach and Halo 3 ODST working at the same time. They had Destiny that was already being started in the background. Like there's so many like great projects that come out of having smaller teams working on stuff while your main team is cooking on the main thing. And I just feel like we don't see that anymore.
Obsidian with Grounded, right? They had a small offshoot making Grounded, and that ended up being a huge game.
Yeah.
Can you believe that Naughty Dog went from making 4 games in 6 years to making 2 in 10?
That's crazy. That's crazy when you say that. And
Uncharted
4
1
great
through
games.
3 in The Last of Us in like 6 to 7 years.
And those are all great games. Like, that's crazy.
I want to throw something in here to kind of counteract the doom and gloom, which is that we talk about like Dan mentioned, shareholders, they just want more and more and more, and this is the effect it's having in the industry. This is what that looks like in the art space for digital art. The upside to this is that because there is one key company that, as of right now, has not adopted this sort of mindset, and that's Steam. And the reason that's important is that I was just thinking about it just now as we were talking. If Xbox, Microsoft, and let's just say Nintendo, even though they're in their own little world, let's say Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo all close their doors completely. No more. It's gone. Those parent companies want nothing to do with those brands anymore. Steam will still be the place to find new experiences, like your pummel parties, like your lethal companies. Like there will always be people, I guess, one-man shows, teams of 5, 10 people that will still make new games. And that as long as a platform like Steam exists, where they are extremely pro-consumer, pro-developer, then at least we'll have that for us. And we might see, maybe as a like similar to what Christian was saying, as an industry, we might see everything kind of scale back to the point where people are just making really small games in the hopes that they get a following. Because we've seen that, like, the guy that made Lethal Company, he totally could hire probably a few developers now and scale up for his next game, which will be a little bit bigger than the already super small Lethal Company. And then if that game gets successful, then that sort of pattern keeps continuing. So I guess that's the one saving grace, is that even with all this corporate nonsense, that gaming as an idea can't really be kind of crushed now because we're so far into it. And like I said, as long as we have a safe haven like Steam that allows anyone to publish a game to their platform, as long as it's not complete fucking malware. Gaming could get broken down to its tiniest piece, and it'll still kind of slowly grow back, I think, at the very least. But the fact that these massive studios with the most amount of resources and the most amount of talent are the ones that are cutting the most is definitely it's fucking ridiculous.
I know that's the part that makes me the most upset out of all this, because I do completely agree with Gage where if all the big guys went away, there'll still be people making games because we can't help it. We just like to create games. We like to create art and all that stuff. And I will play those games, but I don't think there's a reason that we shouldn't be able to have both, because these companies make so much money and
Right.
the people at the top don't have to make that much money. So we could have both. It's just that the people at the top aren't making the right decisions or being greedy or whatever, and affecting the people that do want to make those games. Yeah, so I completely agree with what Gage says, and I hope we will always have places like Steam. But I think the people at the top need to get their shit together, because they can get their shit together. and it's just them being assholes. They don't have to do what they're doing. I understand the recession and the money and all that kind of stuff, but they always start from the bottom instead of from the top. And it's because they don't want to make less money, and I want to make as much money as possible too. I get it, but like at a certain point you're just evil for being evil. And
Sure.
yeah, so that's I totally agree with what Gage is saying, but there's no reason that we can't have both.
Guy also makes a great point, and thank you, Guy, for joining us. He said, when I was a kid, I could have asked for a couple of AAA games for Christmas. Now one game is $90+, of course, Canadian. So now the cheaper indie games are getting big numbers. And he's right. You know, AAA games have gotten so expensive to buy that you do wonder if, you know, families can't afford to buy, you know, as many AAA games because of that. And, you know, those ballooning budgets are becoming unsustainable because on the back end, people can't afford to buy them.
Well, it's funny because Christian earlier mentioned how this problem is multifaceted, and he's absolutely true. Like, there's no, like, as much as the shareholders are kind of like exacerbating the issue and are the main target that we can point to, they're not the only issue. The issue is that this is just kind of late stage capitalism, in that realistically video games could be priced higher and still be affordable, but the problem is that the wages of the average worker have not kept up with anything else. So like, if you think about it, like, yeah, the cost of video games has ballooned, but if the wages of the average worker if they had ballooned as well as they should have compared to CEO pay, and say, like, you know, somebody who works at McDonald's was making, like, you know, $50,000 a year, and that was like the low end of what you could make, and, you know, if you were working in a field like a journalist and you were making $150,000 a year, and that was average, well then, you know, companies could ask for $120 for a game. That would be no problem. So like, it's the fact that not outside of the video game industry, just the average person is just getting screwed, right? And so because everything else costs more, you can't really tell technology to, like, oh, sorry, we can't utilize all of you. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's an objective thing that you have to sort of work at. The cost of making video games has gone up, but the cost of, or the amount of money that people make and that have the ability to spend has not gone up. So there's so many issues, and a lot of it just comes down to late stage capitalism and how this is uncharted waters. We've never been here before. Greed is running rampant. But if more people had more money to spend, that would solve a lot of these issues, in that people would be able to charge more for the games that they make. They'd be able to invest more resources into the games they make, and then the people that play video games, that like to spend time with video games, we'd be willing to give more because we'd have more to give. It's just a whole fucking shit show.
Shit show indeed. I do have one more thing to ask you guys here. Are consoles, I'm sorry, actually holding back gaming? So like, this ties into the conversation of AAA gaming, and is it becoming unsustainable? And are consoles holding back games as a whole, like AAA games? So Final Fantasy Rebirth, this comes from this, has a performance versus quality mode on console, with people saying console's holding back gaming, and showing two different pictures essentially of the two modes. And the quality mode is, you know, significantly better, as you would expect a quality mode to be. But like, I feel like many people's first assertions by this is that, man, consoles are holding back gaming. Like, look what it could be on PC. But I would counter that argument with, they also incredibly help with optimization for developers when they're optimizing for a specific platform. So if you have a graphics card on your PC that is, you know, a few years old, you have something comparable to play, because they're making content for a console that has comparable hardware. Maybe you can make the argument that there's certain games that couldn't be made that are multi-platform, that are being held back. But personally, I feel like consoles make the gaming world better, and AAA games better, because they're optimized better for those platforms, which then in turn should optimize better for PCs as well, although that doesn't always happen either. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not huge on the technical stuff in this whole game industry stuff. But like in all, I think consoles are beneficial for the average gamer in general. It's gotten worse. Obviously, we talked about what we were just talking about with the affordability of everything. But it is the most affordable way to get into gaming, as opposed to getting a PC that could run it better and make it look better and all that stuff. I don't know. I think they should definitely optimize the games as best as they can if they're going to be charging as much as they are. But I don't think I don't know if it's holding it back. I don't think I see it that way. Because I think they're doing incredible stuff on console.
Yeah. I would say, if anything, I would actually say the opposite, in that because you have a set parameter that you have to launch your game on, especially if it's a game that is being designed as multi-platform for the start, and maybe there isn't one specific target platform. Console, I feel like console games. Well, we saw this with Larian Studios, right? Where they, in an effort to bring their game to Series S, they discovered an optimization loophole that ended up affecting all platforms, right? So, if anything, I would say if consoles didn't exist, gaming might be worse, in that there's a lot of PC exclusive games that come out, or even ports for multi-platform games that land on PC that are so poorly optimized. And it comes down to what I'd imagine is just that because of how powerful PC components are nowadays, like with the 40 series, especially the high-end 40 series, that to me, some of these games, I definitely get like the vibe of, oh, well, these cards are just so powerful, let's just kind of throw it on there and people will be able to run it, as opposed to optimizing it to the best of your abilities. So I think consoles being around, even in the presence and company of super powerful PCs, is a good thing, because having that box that you need to fit your game within can lead to performance benefits on all platforms.
Fair enough. I don't really have anything else for this segment. Do you guys have any other thoughts about, of course, the layoffs? Absolutely awful, and I hope that all these people find new jobs, and hopefully with better companies that want to keep them, actually. But yeah, it's all in all not great. Hopefully the year of layoffs ends, because man, the 2 months that we've already had, I think already surpasses what we had last year, and last year was already bad. So
Right.
I think it's over like 8,000 or 9,000 now as of today.
That's crazy.
And last year was a total of like 16,000. So something like that.
that's insane. Do better, people at the top and shareholders.
You know what? Become okay with not doing better, maybe, is also the
Good point.
You know what? If the rest of us are expected to go through recessions and cut back on spending, maybe, just maybe, the people that just invest for a living and have passive incomes, maybe you guys should get okay with, not getting as much of a return some years. Maybe that's the answer. But I don't know. What am I? I'm just a fucking lowly worker.
Blue collar.
I'm just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways. Good segment, guys. Thank you. And thank you to everyone that is watching us live and participating in the chat. I don't know why I said that. That's the wrong one. That's the intro. Joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Gage. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Happy Leap Day tomorrow.